projector has to recognize themselves first as what they value, so that when the invitations come, you can know which invitations are correct for you and which aren't. And how you refine this is through your authority. It helps you kind of filter out the invitations in a way, because it's going to help you use your strategy by listening to the intelligence of yourself. Human design reveals who you are energetically and who you came here to be. I'm Dana, human design specialist.
And I'm Haley, the human design newbie. Listen in as we explore how leaning into your authentic self is your ultimate path to success. Welcome to the Human Design High podcast. Let's get into it.
Hello, and good morning, Haley. How you doing?
Good morning. I'm good.
Yes. Good. Everybody, welcome back to the Human Design Hive podcast. And obviously, you just heard me say hello to Haley. I am Dana, your host. And there's Haley, my daughter,
Hi,
who is here to help us talk it out and hopefully learn a few things about human design. What an awkward,
very awkward
introduction that was. I always, you think those things might come naturally or even with practice, but maybe not so much.
It's like you get on, you forget all words and sentences.
Yeah, kind of something like that. So anyways, how are you doing today? What's going on? It's morning. We're recording in the morning today, a little Sunday coffee chat.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's good. But you know how yesterday Ian showed you that video of all those crochet little things and you guys selected what you wanted?
Okay, let's give a little backstory here.
Well, so Haley it's a video that Ian sent me a while ago. It's these little, crouton crochet is the...
He failed to mention that he sent you the video first.
Yes, a while ago. Yeah.
It's a TikTok or a reel.
Croutons crochet, which is, I love it because croutons as well. But she has these like one is a crab cake. It's little crochet things. It's a crab, but it's in the size of like it's a cake. So they're very cute. A bunch like that. Cute. Mm-hmm. So I sent those. I sent Ian a picture of a new hobby I'm starting, which is knitting, and then I sent Ian that to remind him and say which one he wanted. And then I had him ask y'all which one he wanted. And then I got it all. And then I realized knitting and crocheting are different. I did not realize they're different. But I looked it up and they seem they're similar but different.
So what do? You knit?
That's what I've started. The blanket that you got me for Christmas a couple years ago. Mm-hmm. I've started that. And I didn't realize that was knitting versus crocheting. So
yeah, crocheting, you need the crochet hook, right? Like
so they're very similar
in form.
From what I quickly read last night, they're very similar. Knitting is 2 needles and crocheting is 1 needle, but they both kind of have like basic knits or stitches that you need to learn, and then they're similar but different, like I said. But yeah, I realized that afterwards. So I was like, okay, I'll learn crocheting too.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Oh, yes. Perfect. I just, for everybody that might be watching the video, I just figured out how to switch the screen view so that I'm primarily looking at the center of the screen, looking at you, because it looked like I was looking off to the side. I didn't want everybody to think I was just like not paying attention to you. It's just, I was looking at you. It just had your thing over to the side. So, So does that mean I'm not going to get the sushi bees or whatever it was?
The wasabi? No, you're still getting it. I'm going to learn how to crochet as well.
I feel like we used to do some crochet maybe when I was a kid. I remember we did these things called latch hook rugs. They would make these latch hook patterns. And so it was like this plastic pattern that would show you kind of like a paint by numbers thing. So it would kind of have on the piece of plastic where all the holes were, the different color. You could see the pattern. And then there was these pieces of yarn, and somehow you punched it through that thing and pulled it back out, and it made it like fuzzy too, because it was like a shag carpet.
It almost sounds like punch needling, but different.
Let me say it was crafting for people who have no craft skills. Because there was no skill involved.
And punch this through a hole and pull it back out.
And then we did some braiding stuff, and I think we did some crocheting, but it was the 70s. I'm sure there was some crocheting and macrame. Macrame, that was the thing.
Yeah.
Macrame. I think that's kind of a series of knots and stuff. I'm not sure.
Yes. Yeah, that's like knotting and
maybe that's what we did. I wasn't crocheting.
Yes, you will still get your little things. Just I have to learn crochet.
Crouton crochet. Yes. Shout out to her creativity for
They're very cute.
Fun little things. They are very cute. Like the little names too. The one that was a big hit for everybody was the sharkshimi.
Yes.
It was like a shark that looks like a piece of sashimi.
Yes. It's very cute.
Sashimi. I've been schooled on how I say sashimi and sushi. No, I don't say sushi, but I do say sashimi instead of sashimi. Sashimi. Okay. So anyway, let's get to it, Haley. Enough of this. Okay. Chit chat. Yeah. We're going to keep on talking about authorities by type.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And today, Haley, I know you love talking about projectors.
It's just because I can relate better.
I know. Yes, we decided to move to projectors next because they are the next largest segment of the population. Mm-hmm. Roughly 20% of the population are projectors. We already did the generator types, including manifesting generators, which make up about 70-ish% of the population. And so and I think probably projectors are seen as having the most diverse types of authorities. And not diverse, I should say, it's not diverse. What's the word?
Ranging?
Variations, the most variations, I guess, because if you are a projector and you get you go and get your body graph chart, it's going to list your authority, and it can say, splenic, emotional, ego projected, self projected, mental projected. It's got a few, and I think for this one in particular, it is it's imperative to kind of simplify that so that there's less confusion around the authority for a projector, because they already have, when they first learn about their type of invitation and strategy of trying to figure it all out, because it's probably exactly the opposite of what they've been doing their whole lives.
I want to know why they have more varied authority.
Well, it's just that because there's, I would say it's because without going through that sacral center, there could be areas. Well, there's going to be two different types of projectors in general, which are going to be what they call energy types and non-energy types. Energy type projector would be, someone like yourself, you have a motor defined. Right. So you do have some motorized energy in your chart. It's connected to the root, which we're going to talk about that. But then there's also the ones that have none of the motors defined in the chart. And so that's the main distinction there, is motorized, non-motorized. And then it's just, there's really not that many types. It's just in some of the software, it tries to, I think, complicate it a little bit, make it that there are a lot of types, but let's just, roll with it and see if you still feel that way.
Okay.
When we are complete.
Okay.
And I do have visuals for you today. And let's start with the strategy of a projector. Okay. And what makes a projector, Haley?
Okay. So So what makes a projector a projector? First of all, they're not going to have a sacral defined because otherwise they'd be a generator. And they don't have a motorized throat because that would put them into a manifester. What was the other question?
That was good. That was good. Strategy.
Oh, yes. You have to wait for the invitation or it's like a two-parter. Wait for the invitation. Or it's two different phrasings, but I can't think of the other.
Recognition.
Recognition, right. I love
that. No, that's good. Okay, so the waiting for the invitation, the recognition, and what does that mean? And you as a projector have the experience of what when you heard that for the first time? Confusion or acceptance?
I thought it was stupid. I was like, I have to wait for someone to invite me to do things.
And that is usually the normal reaction. Just like for generators, I have to wait to respond to what? I got so much energy I want to do. And projectors waiting for recognition or invitation is like, that sucks because no one ever pays attention to me. You know, no one ever sees me, right?
Yep.
But you learn through experimenting with this strategy that people do see you or recognize you when
the time is right.
or when they hear what you have to say, they recognize you. Time is right is good, but also, let's say the invitation is there because you have done what the projector needs to do, which is to just wait and be asked to, that's the projection part. It's projected energy. You have to be asked for your guidance because projectors are our guides. They're our managers. They're here to help primarily guide generators in correct use of their energy because having that undefined sacral center means that's where you are able to gain wisdom because you're experiencing the sacral energy of those around you. It's borrowed energy, as we've talked about, but then you have an understanding because a projector also, your aura kind of reaches into the heart of the other. You really understand what others need and especially what they need to use their energy, to improve, to give them guidance. Like it's just this, the gift of the projectors. However, most projectors not knowing this about themselves, they've not understood that they have to be invited in. They have the experience of sharing their knowledge, their guidance without being asked because it's just so hard to hold it back, right?
Yes, it can be.
Especially projectors such as yourself with the channel of judgment. You can really
get you in trouble sometimes.
Get you in trouble. Because you know what needs to be corrected. But the idea here is that if the projector can stand in their own value and recognize for themselves what it is they have to offer. Like if you're solid in yourself and you know what you can do and everything, there's less of this proving energy in the world that you have to, go out and get the attention, right? And that just makes you more attractive to people. Same thing with generators. They're like, don't initiate. If a generator, because our auras are more enveloping, if, we can just be there sometimes. And if we're lit up, it just draws more to us. We don't have to go find it. Same for projectors. My favorite, analogy is that whole, be that lighthouse, just there, standing in your space, knowing what it is that you do. You shine the light by, when I say knowing what you do, that doesn't mean like, oh, I know everything about myself. It means you understand your own value. The projector has to recognize themselves first as what they value so that when the invitations come, you can know which invitations are correct for you and which aren't, and how you refine this is through your authority. It helps you kind of filter out the invitations in a way, because it's going to help you use your strategy by listening to the intelligence of yourself. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So we'll start with the emotional projector, because as statistics go for projectors, there's going to be roughly, half of them are going to be emotional. I would think that makes sense. If half the people on the planet are emotional, you'd think half the projectors are emotional. Doesn't that make sense mathematically?
I mean, yeah, I don't know if the actual statistics back it up.
I don't know either. That is just my feeling, is that it's going to be kind of half and half. So, emotional projectors. So, as we said, the projector has an undefined sacral. So you'll see the undefined sacral, which is the little square, the second square up from the bottom is the sacral. It's going to be white. It's going to be undefined. But then the emotional solar plexus, which is the triangle to the left of the sacral, if you're looking at the body graph, is going to be
right.
Left.
Right.
The right. Sorry. To the right of the sacral. See, sometimes I just don't even listen to what I'm saying.
That's why I'm here.
It's going to be colored in. It's going to be, on traditional colored chart, it's going to be brown. And so what that means is there is that emotional definition there. And so that means this projector is going to have an emotional wave. And what do we know about emotional definition and emotional wave? What does that mean when it comes to decision making?
It means you got to wait on it a little bit.
You got to wait.
Got to ride
clarity.
it through.
That's right. There's no clarity in the now. And in this particular configuration, the projector is defined through a connection from the solar plexus to the root center. Those are two motors, actually. And so that creates definition in the solar plexus center for this projector type. And it can have different, configurations, but that emotional definition is going to come either from being connected to the root or to the ego will center, because it can't connect to the throat, because that would make it manifesting, like you said,
or the sacral,
because that would make it a generator. That's right. That's what you said. So it, there could be like I have one friend who has just one channel. She's a projector, and it connects her through the 4037, which connects the will center to the solar plexus, and that's the only channel she has in her whole chart, and that makes her an emotional projector. So the projector waiting for the invitation, plus they have emotional authority. What this means is, the generator has the whole like sacral response, responding to something outside themselves. And then if they're emotional, they have to wait, right?
Right.
Projector, it's the same thing. There is this invitation that could come their way from someone else, or they're invited into a situation, relationship, or whatever it is. The idea of doing something, moving, all these things, there's this invitation that is somehow presented to the projector, and if they are emotional, they have to wait for clarity. And this can be very tempting to move against that authority. And if they are emotional, they probably have acted without waiting before in their life, because like, we said, they're like so excited to get recognized, to get an invitation, that they don't realize necessarily that not all invitations are correct for them. Right. So like, especially if you're, as a projector, wanting to maybe move in a different direction or be recognized for something else, it feels, from what I understand, so good to be seen and recognized that, they jump right into the invitation and they move forward. And then because they are emotional, they may end up regretting that decision, or they find out that they may have been recognized in the moment, and then they're not seen for what they want to be seen for, or it just leads them in a general direction that is not correct for them and a correct use of their energy. Because ultimately what that authority there is for, to help us make these correct decisions, to be able to use our energy correctly. And the projector energy, I always like to say, is very precious because it's limited. It's not, sustainable in the sense as it is for sacral types.
Right.
But I do want to distinguish that does not mean don't have energy. Do have energy.
Yes.
This is also a big misconception for projectors, and what they hear all the time is they can't do. They don't have energy for anything, which is not true. Because in my experience, as I've said many times, projectors around me a lot of times appear to have way more energy than I do. Why would that be, Haley?
Because how's the word I want to say? We're utilizing the generator energy around us.
Amplifying it.
Yes.
And
can be to a
amplifying.
detriment sometimes.
It feels really good, from what I understand, to be around sacral energy if you're not, as a projector, if you're not normally exposed to that. I mean, for a lot of projectors, it might feel normal. You're probably raised by projectors,
Nope.
I mean,
Generators.
My brain is on autopilot today. It's like, just throw out some words and they'll catch up with you. They'll know what you're talking about. Not true. That's why I have you here, Haley. Keep an eye on
filter.
me.
Closed lid. Good idea.
A lot of water, not on the desk. Yeah, so
Yeah, I would say for me it does just feel very normal because I was raised around generators. I married a generator. So it is just kind of a constant feeling for me. Like, it is so normal.
So do you notice that, like, when Presley's out of town, do you feel much different? Not like you were talking about the fear base of, oh, I got to check the doors and everything. But
No.
how does it feel?
I feel a lot more like calm, and I don't feel pressured to be doing other things. Like last time he went out to town, like I was really able to decide what I wanted to do after work. It was usually some kind of crafty thing or just kind of like relaxing. But I think it is like, it just feels more calm.
Yeah. I imagine it does. Do you ever find yourself missing it? Like, does he stay away long enough that you miss that sacral hit?
I don't know so much on that, but very shortly after he leaves, I start talking to the dog.
Not sure what that's about.
I don't know.
Because I don't know that you spend a lot of time talking to him during the day.
Not necessarily.
You guys don't really talk all day, do you?
No.
You're in your work zones, in your apartment work zones.
Yeah.
Well, anyways, okay. So for the emotional projector, what is really going to be key here with all of these authorities is, first of all, the projector has to know what they want to be recognized for. And I know that you've told me you don't necessarily know what it is. You have, you're a line 6. You're also a line 2. So there is this kind of hidden quality for you. Plus, you're in the stage of your life where you're, kind of experimenting and seeing what it is. But if a projector really tunes into their past experiences, I'm sure they can find at least 1 or 2 instances where something they were recognized for, a time when they felt really good and something worked out for them, as far as, I mean, I hope everybody's at least had this experience. I always do this. I make these absolute statements and then I'm like, well, maybe it's never happened for somebody, but I hope it has, even in the smallest way, to be recognized for something that you have to offer people, even somebody just, asking for your advice. And it helping them. That's a correct invitation. If you are able to, have what's bubbling inside of you, what needs to be said or done, and somebody actually asks your opinion for it, it can be gratifying, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. Even in those small moments, that's that invitation. And so even if, a projector has a defined throat, it's not going to be a motorized throat. That means it still has to be called out. And this is, from what I understand, is probably the biggest quote unquote hurdle in experimenting with your design for a projector is understanding that they will be recognized, trusting that they will be seen. The more they try not to be, not to be seen, but just stand in their own value. I don't know if I've said that too many times, but I don't think it could be said too many times for a projector because there's so much to offer there, and you're really here to help people. But so you have to be recognized. Also, Haley, are these invitations, does this mean you can never make a decision for yourself about anything?
No. Like we talked about with the generators, it's for the things that involve other people or are bigger changes or bigger decisions.
Right. Things that, really can help change that trajectory. But, like we said, in those small moments, this is the same for a generator with a defined throat or an undefined throat. You still have to be asked. The more you try to like push your opinions and somebody doesn't ask you for them, I think that goes for everybody. Because we'll get into manifestors in another episode, but it works better. There's a lot of there are those channels in the human design system in general that they call the energy there is projected, meaning it has to be called out energy. So anyways, a projector, you could have the different types of emotional waves. It's really going to just take paying attention for yourself if you are an emotional projector to know where your highs and lows tend to fall, what they feel like. There's going to be, for a projector, there can be, a wave that is more individual, that is going to be a high highs and low lows. That can be a rather moody type of wave. There could be some that just kind of build slowly, ratchet up, steep drop off. There can be some that are more affected by what's happening in your relationships. So there's all these different types of waves, and nobody has the same length of time. There's no formula. There's no way of knowing other than just paying attention to your own energy as an emotional projector, of when you notice when you're feeling really emotionally, maybe high, elated, in that really good space. And then, the days that maybe you just wake up and you're like, well, whatever. So knowing your own wave, and you could have more than one, also different types. Yeah, you could be defined through different channels, right? So you could have more than one emotional wave, and you just got to really get comfortable with those and know what those feel like. When I say comfortable, familiar. Sometimes it's not always comfortable, but do find that people that have emotional authority are more comfortable with their emotions. They're not so afraid of the high highs and low lows. So that's one type of projector. Emotional projector needs to make sure they take their time. So even when they get the invitations, to not jump into these invitations without feeling out a little bit of their wave. So no clarity in the now, at least take 24 hours. And also, as we're going to talk, never mind. I'll come back to that emotional part. I was going to have an and to that, but I think we'll move on to the other ones first, and we'll come back because it'll all tie it together. Okay. So the next type of projector is which is the kind you are, which is a splenic projector. And so instead of having definition go from like the maybe root center over to the solar plexus, this is definition that goes, if they are splenic, either from the root center over to the spleen, right? And I'm just going to stick with this first one, And then, okay, you're like, okay, because there's all these different types. So if your report says splenic projector, it means you have your spleen defined, most likely through the root.
Okay.
Okay. So like in your case, you have spleen to root through the 1858.
See, that one I can't correct you on. I don't know those as well.
1825. That's a great fact. I don't know what I'm doing. And then you also have defined head and ajna. So these very separate areas of energy in your chart.
Large split.
Right. And so in your case, using your authority, what's generally going to happen is you're going to feel this pressure around you. You're going to feel the intensity of people around you. You're going to have your own mental process going on all the time with that defined head and ajna. And the tendency is going to want to be to make decisions with your head, but none of us should be doing that. You have, as far as a projector goes, this almost like little hack, little golden ticket kind of, moment for a projector, because you do have in the moment body awareness that helps you steer in the right direction, let's say. And even for bigger invitations, your spleen is going to help inform you on that, but only in the moment. And it's not going to necessarily, I think, you tell me, doesn't always feel like a sacral response can be very visceral. It's like, oh, you can really feel it. But I think there can be a body feeling. Maybe some people, if they're defined in the spleen, might get like little tingles or middle, body sensations sometimes to know when to act on something. What do you think?
I think for mine, it's kind of just like this feeling of if it's right or if it's not. Like if it doesn't feel right, it will like, I don't feel right. Like it just feels off.
And the thing with splenic awareness is you have to keep checking in with it, right? It's like, if you have splenic authority and something is presented to you in that moment, like you said, if it feels like this is good for you and it feels like the right time, then, proceeding forward that. But then it could change. And,
Been there before.
You have to always keep checking in if it's right for you or not, which is why it's so important as a projector to know with that splenic awareness, especially for bigger things, right? Entering into partnerships or jobs or any of that stuff, is to know what it is you want to be recognized for. So as a projector with a defined spleen, that means that as you move throughout your day, you do have that little advantage of allowing your spleen to inform you the proper use of your energy. It helps guide you, direct you where you need to go. And it could also, help you form what it is you really want to be recognized for as well, because it's going to, things are going to come into your awareness and you're going to be able to follow it based on how you feel. If it, one, piques your interest, but two, if it feels right for you to go in that general direction. Does that make sense? Yeah. People with defined spleens are going to be intuitive and have a consistent way of experiencing their intuition. Like I said, some people might be actual body sensations. It may be, kind of inner visioning, know what, they can kind of recognize something when they see it, that this is correct for them. There's a lot of intuition based there in a defined spleen. So another type of authority that might show up on like a report would be like an ego projected projector. And really this could be the will center connected to the G center, or also it could be connected over to the spleen. And so a lot of times there is this one channel between the spleen and the will center, right? Or the ego center. And that is a motor to the spleen, but still there's no sacral and there's no motor energy going to the throat. Okay. So there's still going to be just this splenic connection, and they could still be connected to the root too. If they have the ego center connected to the spleen, connected to the root, there can be these two motors involved. But in that case, really the predominant authority there is going to lie in that ego center, in the will center, because the spleen is not a motor, it's just an awareness center, right?
Right.
And so as far as motors go, the hierarchy, that ego center has more influence in how you do things than the root center, because the root center is that adrenalized energy. It's just that pulse of energy that kind of gets things moving. Whereas the ego center, the will center, is that energy bank. It's about resources. Do you have, your own personal resources to respond to an invitation? Are you rested enough? Are you, especially as a projector, filling your own tank, right? Like I said, this is a motor, that motor in particular loves to work. That, because it's all about the material world and creating resources and using them. But it gets depleted. It's not automatically filled all the time like the sacral center, right? And so as a projector, if you have this center defined, this as, it can be challenging to find that balance in between the resting and the working type of thing, because like I said, it's a center that really likes to work, but it really requires being filled back up through restoration. And it doesn't always mean just doing a different kind of work or a less physical kind of work. It means no, you've got to chill and do something that fills your spirit back up. Now, if you remember when we talked about this center in the last episode as well about generators, this center, if you have it defined in your chart and you are a projector, you may find that you are in a space of nothing happening, no invitations coming, right?
Yep.
And why would that be?
Because it's basically the universe is like, you need to take care of you. We're going to just pause on these things for you. You just get yourself back going, and then we'll wrap this back up.
And what would be a good indicator to a projector if they are in that state of things not happening or they're depleting their energy? What is the emotional theme there for a projector?
Bitterness.
Bitterness. That's right. That's where those emotional things come through that can really, really help, especially a projector, or actually all types. I don't want to be especially a projector, but as a projector, if you find yourself in that place of bitterness, of it's not fair, nobody sees me, nothing's happening, nobody recognizes me, it happens for everybody else, not for me. Why is this not working? All the things that just life feels like it's just unfair and it's stacked against you. You need to have a close come to Jesus moment and be like, okay, am I following my strategy and my authority? Am I, waiting for the invitations, waiting for the correct recognition? And then depending on what my authority is, do I have the energy resources? Have I had the amount of time I need, right? What is your authority? So if you have that defined, you need to really, that ego center defined, you need to really make sure that you are finding that balance between work and restoration. Okay. So then we're going to move on to the mental projectors. Mental projectors are if the head and ajna are defined. Basically, there's nothing defined below the throat. Okay. So they could have head, ajna, throat. They could just, those three centers could be defined and then no other motors defined in the chart, or they could have just head and ajna. Did I say that right? Did I include the throat the first time? Okay.
Yes.
As I started waving my hands, I lost.
Yes, you said head, ajna, throat, and then you could have head or an ajna. Or could you also have ajna and throat? Would you still be a mental projector?
Yeah, just ajna and throat. Yeah. Because there's no definition below the throat. And so what this configuration is going to indicate is that this is a projector that needs especially to have people in their lives as sounding boards to help them make decisions, because what they have to do is they have to speak out loud whatever it is that has them considering the invitation, if it's correct for them or not. You know, should I take this job? Should I move? Should I buy this thing? Should I date this person? You know, it's like all these things. They have to have some people in their lives that will just listen to them and perhaps just reflect back to them what they're saying, not offering advice, which I find difficult. I realize that I do listen, but I also try to offer advice. A lot of times I'm trying to get better at letting projectors just speak, asking them questions. Well, what does that mean for you? Well, how do you know that? You know, what, you know, just open-ended questions for the projector to help them get that information out of their head and so that they can hear themselves. Because what I find is that no matter really the advice I give, they're only going to follow their own knowing of what feels right for them based on what they hear. And a lot of times, maybe you experience this, they think they know as mental projectors, but they don't until they actually hear it come out of their mouths, what they're actually feeling and thinking about things. Now, this is the part I wanted to come back to, because all projectors benefit from people in their lives that they can speak with about what it is they are, you know, considering, decisions they have to make. Because there is just a lot of that energy of the projector is always so focused on the other. Like that is their gift in order to see into the other and help the other. So it's very hard for them to see themselves and even understand what it is they actually really are considering until they speak it out loud. Do you find that happening with you, even with that splenic awareness, that and with your mental definition? Have you ever surprised yourself about, you know, which something you're considering, thought you knew what you were thinking, but then talked it out with somebody and find a different direction?
Well, I don't know if it's so much that, but
Or confirmation, maybe?
it's more like yesterday specifically. I was just really like low. I was sad, so I was like, I was just in a mood, and then I was taking it out on Presley, and then he was getting mad at me because I was taking it out on him, and he's like, "Well, I'm not a mind reader." He's like, "You got to tell me what's going on." I was like, "Well, I can't get it out until you start asking me about it, because it's like I can't get the words in my head on what it is I'm feeling until someone asks me about it, and then I can like get it out, and then I will feel better afterwards. But it's like I can't get it out until someone asks me. But it's like I can't get it out, or I can't like put it into words until someone asks me about it, and then I can get it out and I can speak to it, and then it usually does work out that way and I feel better, like I said. But it's like it's like I physically can't get it out until someone asks me, which is frustrating because like when Presley said I'm not a mind reader, but then I was thinking, well, I know almost exactly when you're not feeling good or you're feeling off or something's wrong. But it's like and I'm like, well, that's my projectorness. I can see into him, but he can't see into me. So it's a little frustrating.
Yeah. So then he was able to ask you questions? He did all right?
Yeah, he helped me. He was more on the gave advice on things, but what he was saying, it made sense and it did help me, because it was like things that I wouldn't have thought of to do or to look into until he brought him forward. But yeah.
Okay. All right. So yeah, that's going to be very important. And so that's why I wanted to, wait until we talked about the mental projector, because it applies for all projectors as well. Every type of authority of projector, always they're going to benefit from that trusted sounding board, those people in their lives that they feel comfortable with, that they can, know that they can speak without necessarily judgment, hopefully not too much interruption, but just allow themselves to speak. And I find that usually the projector knows what it is that needs to be done or kind of what they want to do. But they, like you said, you just couldn't quite get it out until someone was there to help you, pull it out, extract it. So mental projectors definitely need to, before they make decisions or they enter into invitations, respond to invitations, that they have definitely talked it out to feel it out. And I also forgot to mention there's another type of authority that you might see as a self-projected projector. And that would be that connection either from the throat to the G center, right?
Okay.
Or you could have the ego center connected to the G center, but no throat connection, because then that would create a motor to the throat. No motor to the throat still. Meaning, same thing, it's going to be like, what do you want? If it's the ego center connected to the G center, again, you're going to have that ego authority actually. But this is where this overlapping comes. Some call it self-projected because the G center is involved. Some people call, things ego center because of that connection. So it's just like, really, you just have to look at one, emotional, non-emotional, then, splenic, or if you just don't have any definition below the throat, you're definitely going to know that your main authority is going to be talking it out. I hope that clarifies that a little bit.
Yeah.
Sorry. And in full disclosure, if this, we just got cut off. My computer just crashed in the middle of our conversations.
Yeah.
We had to reboot and hopefully reboot where we left off there. I get so mad when the things don't work out and the technology fails me, and I get just like, so mad, swearing. But then I have to take a step back and go, you couldn't have done this 10 years ago. You couldn't have had these conversations over the computer. So let's just relax. Okay. Let's just relax. So I would say overall for projectors and their authority and decision making, what I would think would be the most important things. Gathering for what we talked about here in general for all projectors, what do you think would be the most important things when working with their authority and their strategy?
Well, following it. I mean, I don't know what else you want from that.
I always wonder if my questions are really bad or I think they are. No, so what I was going to say is that in order for a projector to really fully, follow their strategy and authority, they have to know for themselves what it is they want to be recognized for. They have to really, especially if they're, line twos, that they are spending that time getting to know themselves, understanding what it is they want to be recognized for, and really standing in that value, being that light, being that beacon so that the invitations start coming in. Also required is making sure they're rested. The invitations won't come if they are pushing too hard and they are burnt out. Same for anybody, really. So really understanding, recognizing your own values so that when others come to you, then you use your authority to decide if that invitation is correct for you or not. It could be quicker for some projectors, like a splenic projector. Could take more time for an emotional projector to understand, but really own recognition and responding correctly to the invitations and having those people in your life that will help you talk out decisions no matter what your authority is as a projector. I hope that was a nice wrap up to it.
I think so.
Okay, so we'll just leave it there. We'll have maybe one day come back to it again. We'll just, you never know. We'll just keep rolling with it. So that's going to bring us to the Incarnation Cross of the Week, Haley. So today we have the right angle cross of the unexpected 4.
Okay. I got this one. Right angle means it's a line 1, 2, or 3, or one of the 4s.
4, 6.
4, 6. And then the right angle crosses, they can be in the quarters, which is why this is 4. So it's in the 4th quarter, which is about mutation.
Wow.
Look at me.
Theme of mutation. That's right. Okay. So, yes, this is the right angle cross the unexpected 4. It's in the quarter of mutation, like you said. And it consists of, on the conscious side, the personality side, the numbers on the right hand side of the chart, you'll see the sun is in gate 41, which is contraction. Earth is in gate 31, which is leading. Okay. That's what it's called. And then on the left side of the chart, design, or the unconscious side, the red numbers will say the sun is in gate 28, the game player, and Earth is in gate 27, which is caring. Okay.
The interesting combination of gate names.
Contraction, leading, game player, caring. Okay. Unexpected.
See where this goes.
Yes. Okay. So, if you were born under the right angle cross the unexpected 4, your purpose is to fearlessly embrace new experiences, even when the outcomes are uncertain. You are not afraid to take risks, and you're always looking for new things to learn. You are not limited by expectations and are open to the element of surprise, understanding the hidden advantages which others may overlook in the surprise, right? So keep going. In addition, you're here to explore, learn, and share the importance of turning experiences into wisdom. Your own past challenges and experiences serve as your treasure trove of knowledge. You define what's truly valuable, harnessing the power of imagination to lay foundations for new endeavors that transcend your past struggles. These struggles were like seeds from which you cultivate fresh possibilities and untapped potentials. Your leadership shines in steering toward a new direction, guided by the wisdom you've amassed from from overcoming past challenges and nurturing dreams for a brighter future. Your journey is one of continuous growth and transformation, a beacon of inspiration for others to follow. That's it.
Yeah. You can see the mutation and leading into the next quarter in that.
Yeah. Good. I like how whenever I'm reading it, I'm like, I'm hoping it's, I have a hard time sometimes with the transmission and the receiving, as far as like, I can't necessarily hear what I'm saying at the same time I'm saying it. Mm-hmm. So it's nice when you reflect back to me what it is you heard and that it made sense. Yes. Because I also have this thing where I'm a really great speller. Mm-hmm. But when people spell at me, like if they're telling me something over the phone and they try to spell things for me, total jumble mm-hmm. in my head. I think it's because I'm visual when I spell. Like I can, I see where the letters should go. And when other people are telling me, it's like my inner vision is trying to line it up and it doesn't quite work.
It's funny because when you spell things at me, mm-hmm. you spell it so fast that my brain can't pick up the letters as you spell it.
I think that's the same thing. I think that's what I'm talking about. I think that's the same.
So you'll spell something and I'm like, what was the I before the A?
Yeah, maybe. And it makes me feel so dumb sometimes that I can't follow. I'm like, I always say I'm a really good speller. Just not verbally.
So no spelling bee for you.
Take my time. I'm emotional. I'll take my time. Okay, so we'll wrap it up there for today. And look forward to the next episode. We're going to go into manifestors and mm-hmm. reflectors and their authority. And so we appreciate everybody listening today. And we look forward to seeing or popping up in your... Okay. And we look forward to coming back again next time. So bye for now, Haley.
Bye.
You made it all the way to the end of today's episode, so you must have liked what you heard. If you did, make sure you subscribe so you never miss an episode, and perhaps leave us a good review. And if you know someone who wants to dig into all things human design with us, make sure you share the Human Design Hive podcast with them. We'd really appreciate it. Thanks for listening.